Welcome back to another episode of the Draw Control podcast. On today's episode, I am joined by Sophomore on the Vanderbilt women's lacrosse team, Logan Risenhoover. This season, Logan, at the time of this recording, has 3 goals, 4 ground balls, 2 cost turnovers, and 4 draw controls. In her lacrosse career before college, Logan won the state championship in 2019 while earning the MVP award. She was an all-state and an all-district honors member and her high school's 2020, and she was her high school's 2021-22 Varsity Athlete of the Year. Logan was also a 2-time Under Armour Southwest Command Team player, and I'm really excited to have her on today. So welcome to the podcast, Logan, and how is everything going?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's going well. We have a nice off week, so just excited to get back out to practice tomorrow and keep the ball rolling.
Exactly. And what's your thoughts on the season so far from your perspective? Obviously, it is an off week for you guys, but you have a big game against Florida next week. So I'm just curious what your mindset is on that game and just the season in general.
Yeah, I think coming into the season, we had a lot of unknowns. We just have so many new faces on campus with a lot of transfers, and then obviously the freshmen coming in. So I think the fall was a great opportunity for us to really grow off the field and on the field. But now that we're in season, every game we feel like we're going closer and closer to each other, and just our goals as a whole team. This is a big week for us. So it's nice that we have the whole week to practice, prepare, really get all of those ducks in a row for this Florida game coming up.
Now, what's the biggest thing you've been trying to work on this season as you guys head into conference play?
I think our priorities as a team have really been to focus on our controllables, focus on our team, our play, how we want to do things. And I think with that, it's also just tying together these momentum shifts, tying together all the positives. Our defense has come up with incredible stops throughout this season. And I think our focus has been to be able to transition that ball and transition that momentum into our offensive end. I think we have I think lacrosse is a game full of momentum shifts. You got big runs on both ends of the field. And so I think we're trying to really create those momentum shifts to be bigger for us and have all of those positives that we have throughout the game and tie them together and really let the momentum just kind of take the game away.
Exactly. Also, it's important to sort of know how to control your emotions during those momentum shifts because
Yep.
obviously I compare games to like roller coasters. There's a lot of highs and lows.
Yep.
So obviously, it's easy to handle your emotion when the game's going well for you, but how do you handle it when it's going low for you? Trying to
Mhm.
maintain a positive mindset, because I feel like when you continue to have that positive mindset throughout the whole game, then it usually translates to success on the field. And it sort of ties into sort of the confidence aspect that I think it's important for athletes to have. But I feel like it's something that a lot of people don't talk about enough is how to sort of control your mindset and have positive have positive mindset, but also control your confidence as well.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important. And every best athlete, I think, has good confidence.
Yeah. 100%.
Now, what are your team's goals and expectations for this season?
We had a big team meeting at the beginning of the year. I'm sure most teams do. We kind of just all sat in a big circle and just started talking about what we wanted this season to look like, what we wanted to look back on in come May, where we wanted to be, what we wanted it to look like. So I feel like our goals are a little bit more on the obvious side. Our biggest one being get into the AAC tournament that we're hosting on our home field. So really protecting our home. But then we also really focused on our team's expectations. So I think there's no goal and there's no outcome that you can have without all of those daily expectations to hold yourself and your teammates accountable. So I think that was what really brought out the heart of our team and just being able to be like, okay, here's our big picture goal. How are we going to get there? And I think those expectations are what brings us to be able to accomplish that end goal.
Now, what do you want to see yourself individually accomplish this season? Just looking at your statistics, I feel like you're a very well-rounded player and very versatile on both ends of the field. So I'm curious if that's something that you've been working on this fall and summer to sort of have that translate in the spring season.
I think lacrosse just brings out a big competitive nature side to me. I have three sisters, so I've always been a little bit competitive, but this brings out an opportunity for me to be able to hone in on different aspects of the game. I came in and I was kind of on the edge of playing midfield or playing attack. And so my biggest focus has just been to get the job done wherever the coaches need me that game. I've been bouncing back and forth, so that's why you see it kind of all over the field. But I think my with my job shift and being not knowing exactly where I'm going to be used in every game, it gives me that chance to just kind of know that, okay, I'm stepping in as an attacker right now. I need to help with the transition. I need to get the ball, in the right hands. I need to help kind of facilitate the offense versus when I'm more focused on being a midi, I'm like, all right, I got to get this draw. Our team needs this possession. Or I need to have a cause turnover here. Our team, we need this possession. So I think that my mindset just has shifted a lot from everywhere the coaches need me and just trusting that, all right, the coaches need me in this spot. I'm going to get the job done. I'm going to execute where I'm needed.
That's awesome. That's cool that you get to sort of play everywhere. I feel like not many players get to do that. So I feel like that's pretty cool personally. Now let's transition and talk about the beginning of your lacrosse career and sort of work all the way up to where you are today. So you're from Southlake, Texas. Talk about growing up there and how did you start playing lacrosse? Because obviously Texas isn't known as a lacrosse hotbed. So I was curious how you started playing the sport.
Yeah, I have three sisters, and I grew up just loving to kind of play with them. My oldest and youngest started playing first, and then I gave it a go in like late middle school, and I honestly will say I hated it. It's really, really hard to get the hang of catching and throwing, and until you get that down, it's honestly kind of a miserable sport because you can't do all the things that I love to do now. And I think a lot of kids, when you grow up in the Northeast, you almost like grow up with a stick in your hand. So you don't think about that, like that aspect of the game as much. But for me, I was like, oh man, I can't play this. I have no clue how to catch and throw. I can't cradle for the life of me. So how am I going to be successful with this? But I think that frustration is what led me to get the hang of it. So I was like, I can't quit until I know I can do it. And so I just had that mindset one summer. I was like, all right, I'm gonna learn how to catch and throw. And I would go out in the backyard with my sisters. We would all catch and throw. My sister said it was the funniest thing because I just couldn't get it down. But once I really figured it out, I was like, okay, there's so much more to this. And then I started playing, we had fall ball. And it's nothing crazy, but it's definitely growing. And I think it's an awesome thing to be a part of because it's way bigger now than it was when I started in middle school. And so I think just seeing that the way that the game has grown and the attention that it's brought in has been just an incredible thing to witness and to be a part of too.
When do you think D1 lacrosse will head to Texas? Because obviously you keep seeing it all over other SEC schools. So I'm curious if it's going to go to one of them eventually.
I mean, I hope soon. I'd love to when we travel and we get to go up to the Northeast, a lot of my teammates' families are able to make the whatever the drive is because everything up there is so close. So I always talk like I would love to be able to go home and everyone can
Yeah.
see Dallas, see Texas. So I would love it. My sister plays on the club team at University of Texas and she loves it, but I would love for there to be a Division I program at really any of the schools in the SEC.
Now, growing up, did you have like a favorite team or player that you like to watch, or was lacrosse more a sport that you played growing up?
I loved watching Michelle Tumalo. I didn't watch a lot of lacrosse. My family was a big football family, so we watched a lot of football. But when we did watch, I loved watching Michelle Tumalo. She's lefty. She's also like not the biggest girl on the field, so she couldn't use her size to her advantage in the way that a lot of players can. And I think watching her and her shiftiness and just her ability to have her stick anywhere around her body and be able to score out of it and be able to control the ball and handle the pace of the game was really cool for me to watch. I also played basketball, so I kind of got that feeling of being like little. And I think watching her play is like, okay, this is like an opportunity. This is a game where you can really do anything, no matter whatever you're like naturally given.
Who's your favorite football team, if you don't mind me asking?
My dad grew up in Oklahoma, so we're Oklahoma Sooner fans.
Nice. I'm more of a NFL guy. I've been watching a lot more college football lately. I've definitely
Uh-huh.
been getting into it, but I didn't go to like a big time football school. I'm not in a big time football school, so
Yeah.
I can't really find a team to root for. I feel like you can't really bandwagon to like a Big Ten or SEC team. So I'm just more watch as a neutral fan.
Yeah, so fair.
So, but I do love the Patriots, and hopefully they can figure out their quarterback situation in the draft. That's sort of why I was
Yeah,
watching because they weren't playing so well. So I was trying to see who are the better top quarterbacks. But
yeah.
I think the three of them, one of them played at LSU, Jaden Daniels. So you probably know
Mhm.
more about him than I would, but he seems like the likely player to go to the Patriots in the draft.
Yeah, well, I hope they figure it out.
Hopefully, because my Sundays are usually not as fun as they used to be when Tom Brady was playing. But getting back
Fair.
to your lacrosse career now. So before college, you played for your high school at Westlake. So talk about your high school lacrosse experience, what you took away from it, and what's your like favorite memory from your high school days when you look back on it now.
So I went to a little school in Westlake, the Westlake Academy. But I actually played for our city, so I played for Southlake. And I don't know, it was an awesome experience. I'll tell you my favorite memory was winning state my freshman year. My two older sisters were also on the team. And so I got to play not only an awesome season with both of them, but I also had an awesome coach, Morgan McDonald. She was honestly like one of my biggest inspirations to learning to love the game of lacrosse. She thought about it in a really unique way. And obviously, with lacrosse growing, we didn't see a lot of like zone defenses or a lot of like really cool plays or different types of offensive and offenses. And so I think she brought this I don't know, this lax IQ that I had never really seen before. And we would run all sorts of different plays and I don't know, really figure out the game from more of a collegiate perspective where you get to see the different ways you can run different things. I mean, even winning state, we were in a sudden death overtime. I had no clue what sudden death meant, which was honestly my problem. I should have definitely known what that meant. But we got the ball off the draw, running it down. I'm like stalling because there's like 5 minutes left on the clock. I'm like, what if they score? So I was stalling, holding the ball. My coach calls a timeout. We all bring it in. She's like, what are you doing? Like, just go score. And I was like, well, come on, I'm being strategic here. Like, you have 5 more minutes left of this game to play. She's like, Logan, it's like as soon as the ball goes in the back of the net, like we win. So we go back out there, dodge, score. It's awesome. Like we're running back to the coaches, big hug, everyone's celebrating. She's like, told you so. I was like, all right, come on now. But yeah, I think that's one of those memories that I'll hold on to forever. I played with both my sisters, and so playing with both of them was awesome. Getting to score, being the one who had the ball in my stick, that was also an awesome experience. Just feeling the pressure, but then feeling that excitement afterwards of wow, we did it. I was something that I'll never forget.
I feel like maybe it was a good thing that you didn't know because it made you didn't have to feel any of the pressure of
Yeah.
overtime. So maybe I'll look at it more as a positive personally.
Thank you.
Now, did you play club lacrosse at all? And if so, what was that experience like for you? Because I'm assuming for most people that aren't from like the Maryland, Delaware, Virginia area, usually your club lacrosse experience is the one that sort of helps prepare you for college and helps you get recruited.
Yeah, I played for 214. I loved every second of it. We did have to travel a lot, so thank you to my parents for going to Maryland with me all the time. We would go up, usually, get our butts kicked, but it was a great experience to be able to see the level of play that it can be. Because I think it's one thing to see it on TV, it's one thing to watch a college game, but it's another thing to like really, it's the same thing with Under Armour, to really get to prepare yourself by playing alongside those girls, even if you're not on the same team, just being able to have that competitive nature of feeling like you're involved and like that could be you someday. And when it's the same age and you're on the same field and you're looking right at each other, just having that moment and feeling that, you really get to see like, okay, this is the game that I love. Here are the levels. And when I committed, I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to get to where all of those Maryland girls are because I'm going to be playing with them very, very soon. I think the club gave me that opportunity to be able to play with them before college. But in a way that almost could have prepared me more because I felt behind. Even if I individually wasn't behind, I felt extremely behind. So that feeling of not feeling prepared essentially did prepare me and get me ready for coming here.
That answers my next question, but how did your high school and club lacrosse experience help prepare you for college? I guess how did high school, I guess, prepare you for college if club sort of made you sort of get ready for just the level of play that you're going to be facing in college? Did high school sort of, guess, prepare you in a way sort of for college, sort of like the scheduling, balancing academics and lacrosse, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think my high school did an incredible job of preparing me for that. Obviously, academics at Vanderbilt are very rigorous, but also very important to everyone that goes here. And I think my school, it was a small school, but it was an IB school, it's just International Baccalaureate. So they did a lot of college prep and a lot less focus on like test scores and knowing which one, whether it should be A, B, C, or D, and really having a lot of short answers and things like that. So I think like the idea of knowing how to learn a little bit better than knowing how to memorize helped me a lot. And really just being able to be involved in a lot of different things. It was so small that I could like play all of the sports and be a part of all the clubs and really kind of focus in on multiple different areas because in high school it's an exploring opportunity, and so you get to see what you like, what you don't like, the same way that college is, but at a less important level. And so I think that gave me the chance to really see all the things that I like and be a part of as many things as I wanted to, while also being successful in all of those areas. So not just taking up a bunch of things, but being successful in the areas that I am taking action in. So I think that gave me the chance to learn to balance everything and really, I don't know, like learn about all of those different things too.
Yeah, and you were a part of three National Honor Societies in high school. So what was it like being a part of those organizations?
I think it was really cool. We had very different time frames for when you're added to each of them. But I think the biggest thing for that was just that those societies are more of like a recognition for your success in the classroom and in different areas outside the classroom that are still connected to that. So, like Spanish Honor Society, those that is just like a recognition of, okay, you were very successful in the classroom and you did like your thesis paper in Spanish, and like you those it's more of like an accomplishment, less of a club that I'm involved
Yeah,
in more often.
yeah. Do you know how to speak Spanish at all? It's one of my goals in life is to be bilingual, and I'd love to learn how to speak another language. So I'm curious if you sort of if you're good at it or not.
I could figure it out.
Hmm.
I would not say I'm even close to bilingual, but I did take Spanish for a very long time. So I think understanding it's a little bit easier for me than speaking it, but I could definitely make it work in a conversation if someone's patient.
Yeah, it's just the conjugate verbs and
Yeah,
adjectives is what gets me, and that's like the big part about Spanish. So that's sort of
yeah,
what I struggle with the most, but hopefully one day I'll get it. I feel like it's harder when you're more grown up to learn a language
yeah,
versus when you're a kid because you're sort of observing everything. That's what someone told
yeah.
me. So I guess I'll just use that as an excuse before I learn how to
Yeah, just keep
fluently
that on.
speaking. Now, like you mentioned, you also played basketball during your time with in high school where you had a lot of success. I'm just curious, how did playing that sport help you in lacrosse, especially defensively? Because I feel like both defense, and basketball translates very well to lacrosse.
Yeah, I'm that's pretty much what I was gonna say is our defensively it was a real opportunity for me to get like the footwork down. I think up until my senior year, I feel like I fouled out of pretty much like every basketball game I ever played in. And my coach always joked and laughed about it. I would wait until like the last 30 seconds, but I was going to foul out. But he always talks about how like that's just the competition and that's just me being aggressive and wanting the ball. And I think in lacrosse, you get away with a little bit more contact, a lot more contact. But with basketball, you learn how to control that contact instead of it being overt and you give up your footing and you get beat. this was an opportunity for me to be like, all right, here's how I'm going to break down my feet. Here's how I need to slide, how I need to move with the defense. I think in basketball, you move a lot more like a zone. Even if you're running a man, you still end up sliding in the way that you would in a zone. And I think that mindset of seeing those kinds of things and being a part of that gave me the chance to be successful with defense and lacrosse.
Do you watch basketball, or was it like lacrosse and sort of a sport that you played?
It was more of a sport that I played. I wish I watched it a little bit more. I love watching our women's team here now.
Hmm.
Those games are always really fun to go to. Usually, like a good group of our team will go to those games, and that's really fun. We always watch it and we're like, oh my goodness, that's exactly how you need to break down your feet and slide. And we
Yeah.
make all these connections now that it's awesome. It's really fun to watch now.
Yeah, shout out to them. They got their first tournament win, right?
I know.
Yesterday.
Huge.
Yeah. Well, one thing interesting about that court is like the benches are like underneath the
Yeah.
I thought that was strange when I was watching that for the first time. I feel like I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's really weird and it's hard to see when you're
It's
in
also
that.
on
Like
the
that's
other
where
end
the
too, so like you can't see
yeah.
the coaches when you're watching on TV, which is something else
Yeah.
I thought was strange, but I think it's pretty cool. So
Yeah. It's cool, but it's weird.
I like that though. I like unique stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just think it's fun to watch, especially if don't know any of the teams. So it's something to
Mhm.
observe when you're watching the game.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you now about your recruiting process with Vanderbilt. What was that like for you, and what made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at?
I think the first thing is just growing up in the South, Vanderbilt just kind of felt homey. I stepped on campus and just like in a camp before we started the recruiting process September 1st. I stepped on campus and I was like, wow, I could really see myself being here. And I mean with that the team is just incredible. They're super outgoing, they're all friendly. They all just make you feel like you want to go here and like they're going to help you once you're here. And I think it's important that when you're on a team that's competitive and at the Division 1 collegiate level, you have to have a team full of people who support you and who want to see you be successful. I think the coaches talked during that recruiting process just about the legacy they're building here and about the ways that they see me fitting into this program that they're building. I think that was something that was really important as I wanted to be able to visualize and see myself in the offensives that they're running and see myself being a big impactful person and player on their team. I think the coaches also really look at us as people, and not only focused on our abilities on the field, but they also check in with classes, see how we're doing, just in every area that we're here for. And I think that I felt that in the process and I felt that connection with them. And I honestly just I loved there wasn't a single thing about Vandy that I would have changed. And I think that I was just like, this is it.
And as a freshman, what was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college, from a lacrosse standpoint?
Lacrosse standpoint, was getting the speed of the game and getting my pace up. I think my stamina was fine. I could keep up like physically, but I think just being able to adjust quickly. I remember like one of our first scrimmage, I was running in with the ball and I just got my stick fell out of my hand, yard sale, everything, the whole shebang with back check. And I remember that feeling. I was like, I am never getting back checked again. But I don't think I ever felt that in high school. I think the pace of like, oh shoot, I just got beat. Let me get this back check is how people process things at the collegiate level, or maybe even up in the Northeast. But for me, I was just kind of like, oh, I beat my girl. Now I can shoot and score. And I think once I picked up the pace a little bit, the speed of the game got more fun too. But I,
Hmm.
I had definitely had to adjust to that pace.
Now, talk about what it's like playing in the American Conference and just the competition you face each game, because I feel like it's one of the most underrated conferences in lacrosse. You got your team, Florida, James Madison, and East Carolina's having a good year this year, like they always do. So, a very competitive conference. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what it's like being a part of it.
Yeah. I think the AAC obviously brings a lot of high caliber competition. It definitely gets tricky with location. I think a lot of schools when it comes to your conference, you're at least like busable. Like you can drive between places, but most of ours we have to take a flight 'cause it's all pretty spread out.
Hmm.
And I think that definitely adds into the ways that you can play and the ways you can travel. And I think for me, it's also like being away from classes. You have to allot a lot more, you have to allot a lot more time to get to places and to get home from places. And I think just that travel definitely adds up in the season. But luckily we are in Nashville, so a lot of our out of conference games, a lot of people want to come here, which makes that a little bit easier on us academically and just being able to stay in the classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, it's you have to deal with all of the airport stuff because you're not getting chartered flights. So obviously, it could be very challenging when stuff gets delayed, which I assume you sometimes have to deal with. So that could be another aspect of things that I think people don't think about as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Is the Big 12 going to change anything? It seems like it's basically the same conference. I'm just curious what your mindset is on that.
I have no clue.
Hmm. But it's gonna be exciting though. It seems like it's you and Florida. I'm trying to remember who else is in Cincinnati as well, and Arizona State. So that'll be fun. Another school you get to play in your
Yeah.
conference. Now, you were talking about this a little bit, but how have you learned to balance academics and lacrosse at a high level? Obviously, Vanderbilt's a very good, rigorous academic university. So I'm curious how you make that work, especially in the season when you're traveling a lot during the week.
I honestly think they go pretty hand in hand with each other. High caliber lacrosse, high caliber academics. I think for me, it's time management and being able to just get my work done as soon as I can get it done. When you're so busy, you don't have time to really think about when else you could do it. You just have to, I don't know, get it done, lock in. I work in like short bursts. So I try to lock in for a short period of time, but be very efficient. So not on my phone, not, scrolling, not doing anything, just lock in, get it done, and then taking that time to be either fully engaged or fully doing anything else.
Hmm. Now, just one more question before we get to the non-lacrosse segment, which is what would you say is the biggest improvement you've made to your game since you started college last season?
I think my biggest improvement would probably be my pace. And that's slowing down and knowing when to speed up. I think my mind and my body moves very quickly, so I naturally kind of forget to slow down. I think that's one thing that our team is also really working on. We have a shot clock, you have the full 90 seconds, and I think knowing that you don't need to take a shot when you have 60 seconds, 70 seconds left on the shot clock. I think just knowing that and being a little bit more aware and cognizant of, okay, I have a little bit of time. Let's get a shot off when we should be getting a shot off. I think just moving in on attack, I want to take a little bit more of a role in controlling that tempo and controlling that pace and knowing that I can speed up when I need to, but I also need to know that slowing down can also be an asset.
Well, let's go on to a segment I like to call six questions that have nothing to do with sports. And the goal of the segment is to hopefully get to know you a little bit more off the field. So first one is, and I'll answer some of these as well so we can have a good conversation going. But first one is, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
My sisters always tell me that Reese Witherspoon would be great to play me. I think when we watch like movies with her in it, my sisters always think that she has different mannerisms that are very similar to me, and that would be the perfect option.
Nice, nice. What is your guilty pleasure TV show?
I grew up watching NCIS, and it's still a guilty pleasure show, but I've also started rewatching Friends.
Nice, nice. I've seen a few episodes of Friends. I feel like you're either a Seinfeld guy or a Friends guy, and I'm more of a
Yeah.
Seinfeld guy, but I think some of the episodes are pretty funny, especially the one where like Joey's trying to use the thesaurus to like make himself sound smarter. I thought that was pretty funny episode.
Yeah, I love that. That reminds me of like ChatGPT now and the way
Yeah.
that people used it. And you read things, you're like, oh, that sounds very robotic.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, I'd say for me, probably The Bachelor. That's kind of a guilty pleasure show. I've been watching that this season. It's pretty fun, so I'll go with that.
It's a good one.
Now, what is the most underrated holiday and what's the most overrated holiday?
Underrated. I don't know if you would count this as a holiday, but anyone who knows me knows that I love birthdays.
That's a
I
holiday.
think they're your individual day, so it's just really fun. Like I love spoiling my friends on their birthdays and stuff. And then overrated, I think is Halloween. I don't love Halloween when you're younger. I love it because you get to like go trick or treat and stuff. And then I love it when you're like older, so you can like pass out candy. But for me right now, it's not my
Yeah,
favorite.
I'm with you on Halloween 100%. That's very overrated. I would say underrated for me is probably Easter. That's a fun one that no one
Love
doesn't get
Easter.
enough love, and it's coming up in a week, so I'm pretty excited
Yeah,
about
it's so
that.
soon.
Now, what's the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
Um, I'm reading multiple different books right now. One book we actually have to read for class. And I'm a child studies major, so I learn a lot about like schools and schooling and how it all works together. I think one of the things we were talking about actually in class today was about different forms of like tracking. So that like AP placement or gifted and talented. And I think one of the things we talked about is how harmful it can be and how beneficial it can also be. So I think it's cool to learn about these things that are like I went through, but now I'm learning at it from more of like an administrative and social perspective that it's pretty cool to learn about.
Yeah. I don't know what interesting thing. I've been sort of been too caught up in, March Madness and NHL stuff, but I guess I've been still reading this book about the manhunt for John Wilkes Booth. I think that was pretty interesting because everyone sort of thinks about what happened to Lincoln after he was assassinated and sort of him going to the hospital and then sort of that whole thing, which is very interesting. But I thought the manhunt was pretty interesting and very intense and how they found him. And yeah, it's a pretty crazy story. So it's been an interesting read. It's been taking me a while, but it's been a good book to read the past few months for myself.
So cool.
Now, last one or two more is what is one place you would love to visit to one day?
I really want to go to Africa. I want to go on a safari.
Nice. And then last one is which player on the Vanderbilt women's lacrosse team has the best off the field style besides yourself, obviously.
Well, I would definitely not say myself, but I feel like our team has really, really good style. Josie is one, Josie Ward. She has a very unique style, and I feel like every time she comes into the locker room from class, we're all like, "Whoa!" So I feel like hers. I love like Maggie Arnold, Sammy Newchow. They always have something that's really cute on. But yeah, I feel like honestly, our whole team has really great style.
Now, just one more lacrosse question I want to ask you was what do you think should be done to help grow women's lacrosse from your perspective?
I think the biggest controllable thing that you can do that like just as a, United States can do would be continuing to have or really starting even higher quality of like streaming for games. I think I saw something comparing two different D1 like top 15 matchups between
Yeah, it
men's
was
and women's
John
lacrosse.
Hopkins. It was the same stadium and the same day.
Yeah. So I think just being able to have a little bit more higher quality film so that girls everywhere can watch it, 'cause even if you're growing up in a state where it's not super prominent, it's not, one of the main sports, you can still go online and watch a women's lacrosse game at a quality that you can see everything and see the action and see what's going on. So I feel like that would just be one of those things that's honestly a non-negotiable that we should continue doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Logan, it was great talking with you. Before we end this interview, do you have any shout outs you want to give and who should we have on the podcast next?
Um, oh man. I always want to shout out my parents. They're awesome. They put in so much time for me to be able to get to where I am. Um, and then I don't know who you should have on this podcast next, but I do think you're doing an incredible job getting athletes on here and talking about the game. I think this is a great place to start and to keep growing the game.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Logan. I really appreciate that. And I just want to say thank you for coming on and taking time of your day. It means a lot to myself. I think you're a great player and an even better person. So, wish you all the best for the rest of the season. I know you guys are going to do great things, and it's going to be exciting to see what happens in the American Conference when you guys start finally playing each other more consistently, which I think starts pretty soon for most teams. So, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, but thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.